This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No.
Y'all,
Just stop.
get real.
Welcome to DBL. Hello, everyone. We got a full panel. We got Dr. Coley joining us on the panel today because it's been almost 2 years since the first prescription weight loss drug became widely used, and for millions of Americans, it's been life-changing. So today, we thought we'd talk all about the state of weight loss drugs, what's new and better on the horizon, when will they become more affordable, and what are all the benefits and risks of taking them? So thank you for being here, answering all of our questions. So Doc, let me start with what's next. Are there going to be weight loss drugs future on the horizon? Will there be a pill? That's what we all want to know. Will there be a pill?
Well, it might surprise you. There's already a pill. So Ozempic is already available in a pill, but only for diabetics, not for weight loss. Now, I know the obvious question you're going to ask me, right? If it's the same drug, what's the difference if you're using it for diabetes or for weight loss? And how does it matter if it's an injection or a pill? It's the same thing. World of difference, right? Because the dose that we're talking about in injections, 2 milligrams. The dose that we're talking about in pills, 50 milligrams.
Whoa.
Because when you take a pill, your body breaks it down in a different way. So we have to make sure it's still safe. We have to make sure it's still efficacious. It still works. And we have to make sure that people are not having significantly more side effects. So this Ozempic in a pill has already actually been studied for weight loss. We're just waiting for the FDA to now weigh in on whether it'll be approved. But there's so many drugs looming on the horizon for weight loss that I think this is the beginning of a new era.
It's a new industry, isn't it? Oh, my word.
Yeah.
So, Doc, let's talk cost, because I'm the resident tighty over here, okay? Are they going to become more affordable for people who can't afford them? Will this change?
I mean, Jeff, it has to, right? Because we're talking about 42% of the U.S. population being eligible for these medicines, because 42% of us are obese, 11% are diabetics. And how much do you think it costs to make this drug?
10 cents.
$5.
That's it?
And they're marketing it for $900 to $1,300 a month before insurance benefits. Now, Bernie Sanders also raised the point to the Senate committee that if you're marketing the same drug, whether it's for diabetes or obesity, why is there a $500 price difference in the exact same drug? The dose is a little different, but that shouldn't affect the price. So because it's become such an industry, because there's such a high demand, and my patients come in asking for it. It's one of the few medicines in my career as a doctor that people have come in saying, I want this.
Right.
And I even had somebody bribe me. I couldn't take the bribe because
How
of
much
medical.
was the bribe for?
$10,000.
Stop.
Yeah.
Cash?
But it was
or just they
cash.
told you?
Cash.
No.
In a suitcase?
I don't
Like
know.
what?
I didn't really poke that bear too much, but it was like, I will make it up to you.
They're desperate.
If you make
People are
sure
desperate.
that we get this medication and kind of a lifelong supply, because we obviously get samples in our office and such. And I'm just joking about it, but my point is, medical spas, these clinics. I was driving by somewhere the other day and there was like a flyer waving for semaglutide for $100 a month or whatever. And that's not even the real stuff. That's compounded semaglutide. So it's created such a demand for it that I think the cost has to really come down.
It really does. Good Lord.
Gosh. Dr. Coley, let's talk about the positives of the drug. So do they work as they promised that they will? And are there any health benefits?
Well, you know what's so interesting about weight loss drugs? For the longest time, we would get the weight off because we used stimulants, but then we would cause harm to the heart, right? Because you're whipping the heart, you're whipping the metabolism to get the weight off. But this drug is a whole different beast. So it gets the weight off and it's actually protective for the heart. We found a cardiovascular reduction. We found weight loss, obviously. We found improvement in blood sugar. They just reported data on improving kidney outcomes, so they protect your kidneys. And now we're looking at heart failure. So I feel like the number of benefits of this drug just continue to grow, and it's really become something we realized is protecting all the organs from the damage that comes from obesity and the inflammation associated with it.
So fascinating.
Okay, well, not everybody is a fan of these drugs, including Jillian Michaels. She was on a podcast with Bill Maher. She talked about it, so let's take a look.
This side of this that is far less rosy, right, is that you're somebody who experiences one of the more common side effects, diarrhea, constipation, nausea, vomiting, right? Then you've got muscle loss, and it's pretty significant. There's a bone density problem with it. On the website, pancreatitis, kidney failure, gallbladder issues, vision loss,
and
stomach paralysis, intestinal blockage.
So she also talked about plateauing on top of all the things that she named, and she also talked about the weight coming back after people are stopping the medication. So what have we learned about the negative effects of taking these drugs?
Right. I mean, I just highlighted all the positives, but there's no such thing as a free lunch. This is a medication, right? It's like hypertension. If you're treating you for high blood pressure, you stop taking it, your blood pressure is going to go back up, or your cholesterol or whatever. So people have to understand it's not just going to change your biology and you can stop and then not gain the weight back. All of the side effects she listed are real. And that's why I think it is so important to remember this is a medical intervention. This can have some serious side effects, and it's really important to make sure we're not just using it recreationally. But again, obesity to me is a bigger problem,
right? The risk.
Then the risk of side effects, which even now in a population level we're seeing very low signals of. Now 42% of us start using this medication. Guess what? Those small signals of pancreatitis and vomiting and stomach paralysis will start to affect more individuals. So we have to be mindful, especially in our older people, right? If you're over the age of 65, it drops your bone density, it drops your muscle mass. That's not something that we should really be ignoring. And I feel like the medicine industry has gotten so excited about the potential of this that we're almost getting a little carried away.
A little ahead of ourselves. I know someone personally who is dealing with, do I do it for pancreatitis or not? And they're trying to deal with that right now. What have we learned about the mental health effects of being on these drugs?
You know, I mean, a lot of stuff emerging here as well. There's actually been a warning issued by the European Medicines Agency, which is like their FDA, saying that it could have suicidal ideations with it. Our FDA hasn't really confirmed that, but it turns down the reward signal in the brain, right? So if we feel less dopamine, less happy, we could just get apathetic with life and start to have less reward from other things. But still uncovering all that, it works with addictive behavior, smoking addiction, alcohol addiction, nail biting, shopping. It's actually hitting on a number of different mental health benefits, but we also have to keep in mind there could be mental health risks to watch out for.
And I just want to bring up quickly, Doc, because my wife is doing this very openly and kind of, you know, following her journey if you follow her online, but she was like getting severe panic attacks.
Is that right?
And she had to like, she's like, I'm not going to take it this week because she upped her dosage and her panic attacks really
worse.
kicked in.
And I have patients that tell me they lose libido, that it really does affect their sexual desires and such. There's so many things that we're still learning about these medications.
Yeah. I appreciate Jordan's being transparent because you really want someone to follow that you trust, and she's someone I trust, so that's good to know. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Coley. DBL Nation, you can follow Dr. Coley on social media at Pile Coley MD. Also, be sure to subscribe to her YouTube page. Plus, check out her podcast, Heart of Medicine, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Coming up on DBL, our interview with Kathy Griffin. She's talking all about her comedy tour, plus where you can now watch My Life on the D-List. Speaking of comedians, Ellen DeGeneres is speaking out about getting canceled after those toxic workplace claims. Does she deserve a comeback? Welcome back to DBL. Ellen DeGeneres says she was once the most hated person in America during the stand-up show in LA. Ellen was addressing the scandal that rocked her talk show back in 2020, where she was accused of creating a very toxic workplace. During her performance, Ellen said despite being the face of the show, she didn't know how to be a boss and reminded the crowd she went to, quote, Charlie's Chuckle Hut and not business school. She also said she became a one-dimensional character on her show who just gave away stuff and, quote, danced up the steps. She said the scandal took a toll on her ego and self-esteem. And after the show ended in 2022, she became reclusive and she did not go out very much. Now she can look back and make jokes and dance without crying. So does Ellen deserve a second comeback, even though she didn't need to come back from the first one? But she was completely kicked out of show business once she came out in 1997. Of course, the Time magazine famously saying, "Yep, I'm gay." Her Ellen sitcom was canceled after her character also came out on the show. So she's been through this before, Erica.
Yeah. Does she deserve a comeback? Yes. And I think people who are Ellen fans would agree with that, because those are going to be the people who are going to come to see her while she's on tour. It's interesting to hear the side of a creator, which Ellen is, talk about the idea of being a boss, because Issa Rae also had this conversation very much so, saying, I don't want to be necessarily be the CEO of the company. I want to be able to create my art. And when you get to a certain level and people see your brilliance, they start to give you more responsibilities. But people are only available and able to do so many things at one time. So if you don't have the team or people who you can really trust behind you, which is very difficult to find people who you can really trust to be on your team, then ultimately you're setting yourself up for failure, because you're depending on other people that you can't depend on.
Very true. And just so you know, in 2020, after an internal investigation, 3 top producers, I remember this, were let go. I had friends on that show and said it was terrible. Was that her fault, Jeff, that it was terrible and her name was on the signage?
Yeah, I could go either way. I could argue either side with this, but I'm kind of more on Erica's page here. You know, just in the last, couple of years or whatever, even as long as I've been in this business, it's changed a lot, right?
Yeah.
And I could be a good leader for people who trust me and surround me with that, right? I could be a good leader for them. When you're talking about hundreds of people working at the same thing, I don't know if I could handle that either, even if it was my show.
Sure.
We have like meetings, microaggressions, and the way I talk turns people off, and everybody is a victim of some sort of circumstance. So I don't want to, like, if I was talking to my group of friends or my team, I would talk like that and lead them the way I thought they need to be led. The exact same conversation, if I said to a group of people that didn't know me, they might be offended by that.
Yeah.
So I'd have to step down, or I don't know if I'd be able to get that big, just because of the climate that we live in right now.
Where your limits are, and you know where that is. What do you think, Steph?
I think there's only so much one person can do. We can't all be brilliant at absolutely everything. And like, obviously she's been hired for her talent and not for her management skills of her team. I do think, obviously, with great power comes great responsibility, and having your name on that show, you have got an impact effect. So if you know, and there are rumors that like people aren't being treated very well, that they aren't getting the support that need, that someone's being yelled at over and over again, that it's toxic, I would like to think, as the powerhouse of the show, she's got enough respect, and the team depend on her. At the end of the day, their paychecks come from the name Ellen, and they come from her. She can talk to everyone and say, look, this isn't how I want my ship to be ran. I'm the captain of the ship. You all need to do it. But also, it's not just Ellen. There's other people that filter on down, and that toxic energy comes all the way down. Does that make sense? It's not, I don't think it's fair to point the finger solely at her.
I think she did turn a blind eye. I think you're right. I think she heard the rumors and moved on, but I don't think it was like, I think she was a stand-up, and I got to be honest, if you've never seen Ellen stand-up, and I watched it from when she came back in 1997, I believe, or maybe a little bit later. She did Here and Now. I don't know the exact year, but it's one of the funniest stand-ups I've ever seen, and my mom and I caught it once at like midnight, and it's one of my favorite memories with my mom of us crying, laughing, of just observational humor. So I'm excited for Ellen's stand-up. I think a one-on-one for Ellen would be great. Coming up on DBL, we're talking with Kathy Griffin, speaking of comics, all about the celebrities who inspire her stand-up routine. Stay tuned for that. Welcome back from the D list to the PTSD list. See that? Kathy Griffin has been through it all, and now she's back on the road trying to make sense of the last few years and bringing her fans along for the ride. Earlier, we spoke with her all about it. Check it out.
Joining us now, please welcome back Kathy Griffin.
How are you guys? I'm so excited to see you guys again. How are you?
So good to see you. We're doing great.
Yes, and you look to be doing great as well. You're back on tour. Last time you were in Denver, I saw you at the Buell. So I know your act is known for being full of inside info on your social life, and you said you've lost some friends because of it. So were you surprised by that? And did anyone catch you off guard with how they reacted to you?
Yeah, look, it's been almost 7 years since that picture, which I stand by the way. It's covered by the First Amendment. But I lost about, honestly, like 75% of my friends. And my own industry blacklisted me. So honestly, it's a big deal for me to be back on tour because for years, nobody would hire me. And because of the Trump photo back in the day, the theaters were getting bomb threats and death threats and people lost their minds. So I call the show My Life on the PTSD list because I've actually been diagnosed with PTSD and I have to laugh about that as well. So since I was last on tour, oh my goodness, you know, I went from the no-fly list to a pill addiction, which I talk about. I'm happily in recovery. Then I got lung cancer and I lost half my left lung.
Wow.
I filed for divorce 4 months ago, so I'm 63, single and sexy. And I talk about all that. And of course, I talk about my celebrity run-ins. You know, it's no holds barred. I'm not taking any prisoners. I make fun of everybody in the city. I do my local research. And then I tell my celebrity stories. And I went to Paris Hilton's birthday party, which is just funny on its own. And I met Megan Thee Stallion, who I'm a big fan of, and she said that I could be called Kathy Thee Stallion. So I'm just one of those people. The crazy stuff just happens to me, and I gotta laugh about all of it.
It's so true. When you play at Carnegie Hall, first of all, that's amazing this year. You will break the record for most shows by a female comedian at the venue. Previously held by the one, the only Joan Rivers. I know Joan is such an inspiration for you. I want to know, what does it feel like to surpass her on this record?
You know what? We discussed it, and she would make fun of me and go, "Oh, I can't stand you. You're taking all my jobs," and call me names. And we'd go to dinner and laugh, and I miss her every day. But Carnegie Hall, I call it the church. Believe it or not, it's a great venue for stand-up because the acoustics are so amazing. But Carnegie, the way the audience shows up, it's more theatrical.
Yeah.
So it's not like a club where people are ordering drinks and they're at round tables and half of the audience is with their back to you. So I'm so grateful I get to play theaters because it's kind of a game changer.
For sure.
Oh, I also bring one of my dogs with me on each leg of the tour to comfort me, to add more chaos and
Right.
madness to my life.
That's unbelievable. I love it. I also always loved your relationship with your mother, Maggie, who we lost a few years ago. I just lost my mom 3 months ago yesterday.
I'm sorry.
Thank
I'm
you.
so sorry.
Thank you. And I am still grieving, but I wanted to know how Maggie supported you as a child and into your career and what you will miss most about her. Supportive moms, you don't get better than that.
Oh, don't be fooled. My mom, Maggie, didn't support me at all. She wanted me to be a dental hygienist until the day she died. She felt like comedy was fun, and I brought her to every gig, not stand-up gig, but if I was doing a TV part or a movie part, but she did come to all my special tapings, and she finally came around. But her dream was that I would be a dental hygienist, marry a nice Jewish dentist, even though we're Catholic, and that was her dream for me. So in that way, even playing Carnegie Hall, of course I failed her. But she's in heaven now having a box of wine with my dad. And my mom loved her box of wine, so she used to say, "Tip it." So she's tipping it in heaven right now with my dad.
Tip
and
it.
hopefully they're good and drunk.
Oh, I love
tip it,
that.
babe, tip
Kathy, congratulations. Thank you so much for coming back on DBL Nation. You can see Kathy Griffin on the My Life on the PTSD list tour going on right now. So get your tickets at kathygriffin.com. Great to see you, Kathy. We'll be right back.
Thanks, you guys. Mwah, 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 mwah. Thank you.
Welcome back. Would it surprise you if I said that women with female doctors are more likely to live longer? Well, a new study revealed that not only do they live longer, but they're also less likely to be readmitted to the hospital. And get this, if male doctors could close this gap in care, more than 5,000 women could be saved every year. Does this surprise you? And do you have preferences when it comes to your doctors? Gynecologically, I would prefer a woman.
Yeah.
And some people don't. I just do.
Well, I mean, I have had this experience. I finally found a female doctor who could understand more what I was going through, and that actually expedited some of my healthcare in terms of like fertility and IVF.
Wow.
So I think that just goes to show you that the diversity of doctors is needed to make sure that you're on the same page.
Totally. And I'm sure some men prefer men doctors, male doctors. So picking the right medical care for you is important, and better benefits can help. Many Americans already in Medicare may not have a plan with all the benefits accessible to them. So reach out to Medicare Advantage advisors today. The benefits review is free. Just give them a call, 1-800-293-9930. We love sharing your comments. These are about Ellen. Jamie said, without a shadow of a doubt, Ellen deserves a second comeback and to do what she does best, to make us laugh, to be kind, and to continue being herself. Carrie says, you can dislike someone without being hateful and wanting to cancel people. Jeff, that's your point completely. Lee says she deserves a comeback, but she was never my favorite. Again, some people don't like wicker furniture. Some people do.
Okay.
I always use that example.
I don't think she needs a comeback. I think it's kind of her ego that wants to cement her place as a positive impact in show business.
Yeah.
I think she wants to come back for that. She obviously doesn't need the money.
No, she certainly doesn't.
Yeah,
no,
definitely
she
not.
absolutely doesn't. If you didn't know also, she was on Johnny Carson doing one of my favorite stand-up bits ever, and she was the very first female that Johnny asked to bring over to the desk, which was his symbol that you were so good, your whole career was made. And Ellen was the very first one. So I highly recommend going back, taking a look at that clip. DBL is new every day. We'll see you same time, same place Monday. Be good to yourself this weekend.